no more. Oh, my Lord. We won't have to cry no more. I tell you, we won't, church. We won't have to cry no more.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Keep It Simple, Sir. In honor of the great Bishop Norton, we are again here today to talk about a wonderful topic. Today I have some wonderful people joining me. Our topic today is education, entrepreneurship, and empowerment right here in our local community. So I can't wait for you guys. I'm so honored for our guest today. The biggest part here is we're going to be sharing information about the wonderful people and what they've done already in the community and what they are doing. I want to open with our scripture today. It comes from Proverbs 3:13. It says, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yield better return than gold." Did y'all hear that? They refer to wisdom as she. Isn't that something? Isn't that awesome? So without further ado, let me introduce you to my lovely guest here. To my left, I have the lovely Lady Linda. Hello. She is a professional hat maker, and she's going to tell you about herself today. Next to her, we have Dr. Linda Huggins in the building with the Dayton City Schools. Awesome, you guys. And to my right, we have Mr. McBryde. He is with Empowered for Excellence. So I can't wait to hear what all you have to say. Would you guys mind sharing with us today just a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today and doing this wonderful discussion in our community? Miss Linda, would you like to go? Lady Linda, excuse me.
Sure. Once again, my name is Lady Linda Crawford, and I am a professional hat maker. I started my first business in '86. I went and got a loan for $5,000, and someone that lived in my household decided to steal the $5,000. So I went back, and they said, "Well, the most we can loan you is $2,500." So I said, "I'll take that." And my business started up, and it's been going since then. I didn't start off being a hat maker. I started off with a retail boutique, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And as I would buy products, I was buying the big name brand hats. And once I started getting the hats, I was looking at how they were made, manufactured, put together, and I thought, well, I can do this. Mm-hmm. So I went to New York, and I went to a millinery shop, and I asked two gay guys, I said, "Can you guys show me what all I need to make a hat?" And they showed me the rope, they showed me the hat block, they showed me the fabrics, and I bought what they told me to buy, everything except the hat block because it was very expensive. But my trip in New York, I had to go to the fur district. So I went into one fur store, and they had hat blocks sitting on the counter, and there was a sign that said $5. So I said, "Well, I'm traveling. Can you ship them to me if I pay for them?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, no problem." So they shipped me the hat blocks. I had the rope. I had the fabric. But I still didn't know what to do. So I kept those items for probably 10 years before I even used them.
All right, so I can't wait to hear more about that. That sounds exciting already. Your story sounds amazing. Just going and actually being in those shops, the first shop, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait." Next to Miss Linda, we have the Dr. Linda Huggins. Would you mind sharing about what you are doing in our community?
So yes, I am opening a school. It's called the Dayton School, and I'm opening a school because I've been in education for over 14 years, and I served in different capacities, mostly as a 7 through 12 language arts teacher, and I just wasn't satisfied with the education that we were serving up to our children. The world is evolving, but we're just staying stagnant in traditional education. So I'm like, I'm just going to stop doing this. It's not feeding our children or our community, and I want to try something new. So I decided to open the Dayton School, which is project-based learning, and it's a alternative to traditional schools.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is awesome. I can't wait to hear more because we need education. That is our power, and being able to share with our children is so important. And for you to see that there was a problem, it's time to change and make those changes, because we're always evolving, and our children, we know that generations are constantly evolving. It's hard for me to keep up. So thank you for what you're doing. I'm so excited to hear more about it. All right, next we have Mr. McBryde. Would you mind sharing with us all the great things you're doing?
Well, again, my name is Sir McBryde. I've been in mental health and substance abuse treatment for the past 12 years, and it's all about everything we do is predicated on treatment. And we're in the communities, reaching out to our young people and helping to inspire them, empower them into making better decisions, and also dealing with ones that's been in stress, growing up through traumatic situations, and learning how to deal with those things. Showing them coping strategies, and just overall just wanting to make them to be successful, having civic mind in society.
Are you local? Where are you out of?
We are located on 1 Elizabeth. It used to be a hospital here in Dayton. So we're brand new, and we're looking for people who's interested and have a passion and want to help others.
Oh, awesome. So we got the empowerment here today. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I can't wait for you guys to share your story, and I know there's so much more. My next question for all of you, and I would like to share, what is your passion and what has driven you thus far to be able to continue? Because as you said, our kids are evolving, so we need to have our kids, what are their passions, what do they like to do? So by sharing your passion, we'll have them get the experience to say, maybe I might want to be a professional hat maker, or maybe one day I'll be a doctor and be a principal, or I might want to go work out in the community. So what got you started, and what's your passion behind what you do? Miss Linda, would you like to share? Lady Linda, excuse me.
Well, once I started, I did find a hat making class, and I promised myself that I would make one hat every day, and I did that for 4 years straight.
Oh, wow.
So what really drives me is the art of it. Like today I'm wearing a sculptured straw hat.
See, it's beautiful.
Okay, it's a turban. And just the beauty of the art of putting it together and sculpturing it. I actually buy flat straw and create from there.
Oh, wow.
So that's what keeps me going, is the beauty in the art.
Now, Miss Linda, who did that beautiful pen?
I also make hat pins.
Oh, see?
I mean, you got to
couldn't-
have a hat pin with a hat. So
And you designed that.
I designed it.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait. Dr. Linda Huggins, what is your passion? What drives you?
So kids drive me. Not little kids. I don't like them. I'm just playing. But in the educational setting, the older kids drive me. I feel like once kids get to high school or even middle school, they're pretty much written off. You know, elementary school, yay, we love you, welcome to school. And then when you get to middle school, it's like, sit down, do this, you too old. And I just, I think sometimes our older kids get a bad rap, where others may find them bad or mischievous. I find them funny. And I also get them in order, though. So I just feel like they are, when I was growing up, everybody used to say, we are the future, And so I just feel like we've kind of lost that when dealing with the youth of today. I mean, we created the monsters, and now we don't want to deal with them.
Exactly.
And I just feel like I'll deal with them. I'll get them together. And they are my passion.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy because you hear exactly that. Oh, they're so cute, kindergarten, elementary, and then next thing you know, oh, they're out of control. We don't know how to talk with them. The language changes because they're evolved. So what do we do with them? Oh, they're just out of control teens, but that's not true.
Meet them where they are.
You come in, what you said?
Meet them where they are.
That's exactly it. And then you kind of build that rapport with them, because that's what it takes, the time. If we actually took the time, because I had a child tell me, my mom never took the time to get to know me. So you actually are taking that time and listening. So I love that. I love that. What drives you, Mr. McBryde?
And obviously the young people, as the good doctor was just talking about, to find their passion, to guide them along the right path, and to challenge their thinking errors. And there's a lot of times that nobody's there to correct that, and then the ending of that is incarceration, traumatic events, and they end up being lost. And that's the deep end they fall off because of being emancipated in this state. it's a big issue, and it's always been that way. And hopefully we can change that. And that's where my passion is in, as far as empowering and helping our young people make the right decisions for themselves.
And you guys feel free to join in, because we want to talk about that, because we're talking about education, empower, and entrepreneur. How do you share what your passion is, what you just told me? How do we grab a hold of that next generation and say, hey, I can teach you to make the most beautiful hat? And they probably didn't know that could be done. They thought you just ordered from off the shelf. Oh, you just order online, because that's what we do now.
Right.
But how do we reach out to our kids and get that connection? Because I would love for people to hear more about your story and you getting started. So let's talk about what empower you. So what were some of the things or your barriers that you faced doing the things you love? Do you mind sharing?
Well, when I started out, I didn't have a mentor. I just knew what I wanted to do. So I fell into a lot of trial and error, and I spent and wasted a lot of money just trying to figure out, what am I doing? I invited a up-and-coming new store owner, a black lady, to come on and go to New York with me, because I knew how to shop there. And her merchandise was really bad, and that's why I invited her. But she wound up teaching me, and she never knew it, because I didn't know how to go into a showroom with the right talk. But I listened to her, and I watched her, and we both left New York happy.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I meet young people, and matter of fact, I invited a young lady to be up under me. As I said, I would love to mentor you, because she only could make one type of hat. And I invited her to the Kentucky Derby with me to set up, so she was able to see exactly how to set up and how to deal with money people with your products.
That's amazing. You said something very important, having that mentorship.
Right.
And having that guide.
Right.
But that didn't stop you, and you kept
It didn't
going.
stop me. It couldn't stop me, because I was determined that this is what I want to do. So I, through the trials and errors, I just got up and, found some more money and kept on. So now I make hats only when I want to make hats.
Right. See, that's the lovely part of that. And hearing that sounds great, because we always say, oh, I know one to guide me, but sometimes we have to go find it.
Yeah.
We have to go look for it. Dr. Huggins, you want to share? Tell me about that, some of your work.
So, I really think that this is my purpose, because I was a fool in high school. I mean, not a real fool, because, I couldn't have people calling my people. I just acted a fool until I got to the point where they was going to call home. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. But when I graduated from high school, I was going to be a cosmetologist. I was tired of school, didn't want to do anything. And then, when you think you've grown, you living still at home, people asking you questions. So I did not want to be told what to do. So my sister was at Central State, and my best friend, and she was like, come to college. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's why I went to college, so I can be on my own. So while I'm in college, I just really fell in love with education. And I used to want to be an educator, though, when I was in the third elementary school. And then, I don't know, I just kind of was sick of school. So then there were barriers, but my family says I live in a world of rainbows and gumdrops. And I really do, because it's amazing what words can do. So I didn't necessarily have a mentor in my life, but I did always have people feeding me good quotes and good sayings, and you could do whatever you put your mind to, all the cliches. And I took it to heart. I really believed it. So I was like, oh, I can? So I just was like, I went to college. My first year of college, I was on academic probation, because I thought I could do what I was doing in high school and in college, and they let me know real quick, you get put out.
No.
So I had to get my life together. And I tell my students this too, it's not, sometimes you think something's not for you, because you have to learn how to be in that space. And once you learn how to be in that space, then you realize, oh, okay, I could benefit from this space also. It doesn't mean it's not for you. So anyway, went to college, and then I just kept going. And then once I started teaching, I really thought I was going to be in the classroom teaching my students' kids. But you know, God had a different plan for me. So I decided to open a school. And in this process, I did have a mentor of opening a school. And people say it's hard, but if you're doing something you're passionate about, I don't think it's hard, it's just time consuming. So the hard part is not doing it. The hard part is taking the time to do it and not being able to do the fun things that you want to do. But because somebody said it was hard, like, you're gonna have to jump over these hoops, this is gonna happen, I just took it for face value. So I just expected that to come in my path. And I just think that sometimes when we tell kids you could do whatever you want to do, they take it to heart. And then when the barriers come or when they're stagnant, they feel like it's not for them. But instead, we should be telling them, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you're resilient, as long as you keep to it. Because I've been working on this for 3 years. So it's like, I just thought I was going to do it. Nah, it didn't work out.
It takes time.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think that it's barriers that come with everything, but you know you're walking in your purpose when that doesn't matter. I mean, don't get it twisted. I've been discouraged, and I told somebody the other day that they were like, I just love how you just kept going. I said, yeah, that's what you see, but I've given up. I said to myself, God, am I doing this because my ego and because I told people I was going to do it and now I feel like I have to, or am I doing this because this is my purpose? And then I kind of just like chilled out and was like, I'm just going to chill. Maybe I'm being extra. So then the building that we have now, somebody was like, I'm going to get that building for you. So even when I stopped, what I wanted to do was moving forward.
Yeah.
So God was like, yeah, you thought you was going to stop, but nah, you're going to keep going. So, you know, I just think that the barriers will come, and I think that we need to tell our youth that anything, I mean, when I was growing up, it was like anything worth having is worth working for.
Yes.
But I think a lot of times we overdo it when we're telling our kids, you could do anything. We don't tell them the other part. You know what I'm saying?
Both sides, yes.
And so I just feel like we're trying to empower them so much that we don't tell them what's real. And so soon as they make a mistake, and we're not transparent with them. So when I was getting my teaching license, I failed my test 7 times. So even I'm talking to some teachers now who kind of didn't continue to take their test, and I'm like, so why you ain't teaching if you have a degree? Oh, because I took the test and I failed it once. Boy, I failed my test 7 times.
Right.
I wrote my dissertation 21 times.
Yes.
What you talking about?
Yes.
And so I just think we don't tell them that part. They just we just say, you could do whatever you want to do, look at me, but we don't say, but you're going to fail a whole bunch.
Right.
All this other stuff going to happen too, but if this is what you want to do, you're just going to have to keep going. So I could go on and on, but I'll digress.
We need to hear that. That's why I asked you that question. I asked the great question because, you know, we see the product of what you've been through, but we don't know what you've been through to get it. But we have to warn our children, say, hey, there's going to be ups and downs. Everybody's not going to always tell you yes.
And failure is okay.
Yeah, it's a part of success.
That's it.
And I'd rather have had failure than to have regret.
Yes.
To say I'd never even tried.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't put forth enough effort. And that goes into my story with Empowered for Excellence, and being in the mental health and substance abuse field for the past 12 years and working with young people, and to see the addiction and see where their pain and where their hurt comes from, and trying to map out steps with them is treatment. Everything I do will be predicated on that, and to map out steps towards their goal. That's what I get out of it that motivates me, from seeing a young man from 10, 11 years ago today with his own business because he was on the wrong path, and to help guide him on that right path. Today he owns 2 businesses. And for me to see him on Facebook and had been out of contact with him because he had a kid 10 years ago, a baby, and it was hard for him, struggling with right out of high school with a girlfriend. He didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And now to see how he's matured and how he addressed those barriers, because my thing was, as I was told as an adult, you got to learn how to get around those barriers.
That's right.
Stop trying to go to get through it. You got to get around it. You know, don't let that stop you. And once I did that, as an adult, it helped me out. So we're still in a learning process ourselves.
Right.
And it helps gives us, to the kids, a better gift. Once we see things better for ourselves, we're able to give that to them. And that's what it's all about, sharing. We can't hold it and keep it to ourselves as we get older.
Right.
We got to pass that down.
Definitely.
Right. Let me say this. I was a drug abuser from 13 to 30. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, but I didn't lose the determination that I could be something. I just didn't know what I could be. I didn't have a path. I didn't have a direction. So I just wandered and searched around until I actually found the Lord, or the Lord found me. Okay? So my business started when I was 35 years old. But up until that point, I was a lost soul.
That's inspirational. So
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
start later on or earlier, you still have an opportunity.
Right.
And it says, blessed are those who find wisdom. You just found it.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that it also refers to as hurt. And I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that. Because they said the lessons we learn, our first lessons are learned at home. Hopefully if there's a parent or something at home, we should be the first people to tell you no. So when you do go out into life in the real world, it's not so traumatic. Because now I hear that kids don't know what that means. And I've heard some few choice words. I've been at the store, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And I just see the battle between the parent. They just go back and forth. I'm like, oh my gosh, they can't even communicate.
Yeah, I'm always in their business when it happens. I can't.
So you one of those parents? Yeah.
No, I'm one of the parents like, boy, listen to your mama. Be quiet. Don't be doing that to her.
Give your 2 cents.
I do. I've never, so far, thank God, I've never been cussed out, or a kid never looked at me like I was crazy.
I had someone tell me thank you, and I don't know if it's just my southern upbringing. And I said, young gentleman. And that's all I said. He just stood up in attention, and I called him what he is. We're so used to calling our kids the bad. Oh, he's a little devil. He's that, but you don't realize your words are so powerful.
Yeah.
Call him what they should be, and you want them to be. Young man, what are you doing? And they automatically just straighten up, like in authority, because he understood that, and not to belittle our kids. So that's what I want to talk about, your inspiration, your empowerment, because we have to teach our kids, let's get around those barriers. What do we do next? Well, you told me no here, so what do I go beyond that? How do I find a yes? And it's okay to be told. I do a lot of things and thinking, oh, it's not going to happen. And then just because my thoughts, they'll consume me, and I'll be going to talk myself out of a blessing. So I have to learn, my words are so powerful. I have to tell myself, I said my words are my power. So that's why I want you guys to sit and empower the young people to be a next millionaire. Did I say it right? The lady millionaire. Yes. To be able to walk into a fur. I've never walked into a fur factory. I've never had that experience. And then for you to take that chance and not knowing and still pursue. That's what I want to portray and give their kids. How do I go and say, hey, I might have played around in school, but how can I be an educator and give back? And give back, especially the ones that we see that are lost. Well, how do we get them kids back? How do we get them? And you say mental health. What age range are we talking about that you want to help?
Young adolescents.
Okay.
From elementary school
Okay.
all the way through high school.
And then you're doing ninth?
So my school, well, the community school that I decided to open is grades 9 through 12. And much like him, I do believe, so we'll be doing holistic teaching.
Okay.
And so that means that our students will be ready academically, socially, and emotionally.
Yes.
Because a lot of our kids do not know how to control their emotions. And I know they do think the world revolves around them because us.
We told them we did.
I just, even for my own kids, I had to, they think I'm an Uber driver. And like my son wants to go to the Y, my other sons want to do this and that. And I'm just driving around and they have these funky attitudes. And I had to check myself, like, I used to walk everywhere. My mama didn't even have a car.
Right.
And you sitting around here, and now, why am I mad at you when I'm the one feeding this? I'm the one who made you think that when you say jump, I say how high. If you want to go to the Y, boy, get your butt on the bus. It goes right down the street. Otherwise, you ain't going. I got to work. And so I think I'm an 80s baby, so I think a lot of us 80s babies are trying to give our kids what we didn't have, because that was the crack era, and a lot of our parents, our people around us was consumed.
Yes.
And I think that we're trying so hard to give our kids what we didn't have, that we're not giving them what we did have, which is structure, and you don't talk to an adult in a certain way, and you don't get everything you want, and it's okay. Go sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll be with you in a minute. I'm on the phone. Like, we don't.
More teaching them not to let your emotions direct your behavior.
That's right.
And that's where you come into redirecting and correcting. And that's what I love about what we're doing here when you talk about empowering the young folks.
Because that is empowering. So my middle kid, he used to, I don't know if he's still now, but when they're little, they fight a lot. They're close in age. And my oldest son used to make him mad and just run in a circle. And my middle kid would try to chase him and just mad. And I stopped him one day and was like, "You're never gonna beat him. I don't care how big." He's the middle kid, but he's bigger than his brother. I said, "You're never gonna beat him because he got mind control over you." And I call it mental warfare.
Yes.
Like, he mentally can get to you, and that's why you're never gonna win, because you're all tired out. So by the time it's time to fight, you're gonna lose,
Right.
and you're making decisions based on emotions. Calm yourself. So, I mean, for you to be doing that for our youth, because I deal with parents too. They're my babies too.
Yes, we
Yes.
love
We got to meet them where they are also.
Yes.
But if we can teach them that, then some of those teachings they could take home to their parents, and also their parents could see how they're moving, and they can inspire their parents also, or other people in the community. So I'm glad that that's happening for.
We call
that
that
you're-
going in the trenches.
going
That's
in.
going into. That's when you have to roll up your sleeves and get down into some deep things
Yeah.
in the family, because you want to know why the kid's acting out, or why is he doing these things. And a lot of times you get that when you go home and you see where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it's not to take the parent down if the parent doesn't know, but if they're willing to get help, we're here to help them.
Yeah.
And what the times have, like you said, they're evolving. So I remember in my time, we would play out all day. We didn't come home till the street light came on.
That was the calling.
Yes, and even then, I still remain to this day. I say, "Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, sir."
It's
no,
because it's
sir."
embedded in you.
It's embedded, and someone, they picked at me like, "Where are you from? You can't be from around here." I said, "Well, I am from down south, but still." My elders, I always respect them because we go to seek the knowledge. But
Yes.
because it's evolving, how do we get that knowledge out to them? I would love to see Miss Linda in a beautiful hat making class. I'm going to speak it. And I know you have your, you say you have a mentee now that you're mentoring. But how do we get that word out and share it? Because I think that's absolutely beautiful. Your hat is absolutely gorgeous. How do we get that out? Because the kids are changing. It's a little different.
And it is different, because even my old customers, like, they're not wearing hats to church anymore. They're wearing little fascinators. Okay, so it's changing.
What is that, a fascinator?
A fascinator is just a little headpiece that sits on a headband in between your ears.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the vibe now. That's what that is.
Oh, it's called the vibe.
It's a vibe that's
Okay.
going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So, I try to encourage young ladies, hold on to your hat. That's a slogan of mine. Hold on to your hat. Because the hat, it goes back from way back. Grandma put a hat on for a reason. Okay, so they're just going into different fashions now. So that's why I said, Lord, everybody's wearing these head racks. I call them the head rack generals.
The bonnet
Okay.
patrol. Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of times they need to be clean, but it's easy to grab and put on your head and go. Well, I said, I need a design where you can just take a headpiece and just put it on. You still look nice. You can go to the grocery store or go wherever. I have some that's a lot more simpler than this without the pin. But I found that, we have to change with the times. And the time has changed when it comes to wearing hats. So, and I think young ladies still like to put on like a little something on the head. Okay, so, let's do it. Let me do something that the top is open. and it's easy to put on. You don't have to worry about tying it back up. So myself being an entrepreneur, and I'm always creating things, I need to create what people want to wear, not just what's in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you tell our future, like someone that's thinking about being an entrepreneur and they see you, what would you tell them or encourage them? How would you encourage
Well, first I would say do your homework,
them? Yes.
your demographics. Try to latch on to someone that has been in the business, and someone that cares about you and that has compassion, that will lead you and not lead you wrong, because you can waste up a lot of money trying through trial and error.
That's great. And I think they need to hear that and just keep trying and be creative.
Right, and your creativity, and people say, well, why it costs so much? What should I charge? I'm like, well, you got to consider your time, your materials, and your product is only good as the price tag that you put on it. I find that my goods have been kind of up there a little bit, but I use quality goods.
Yes. That's important.
And that's great information to share with a young person who doesn't have all the facets of putting everything together.
Right, because I find now that, I ran into a few that say, well, I can do, Miss Linda, I can do that for you. And then you give me this big price tag and you ain't did nothing.
Or can you?
Right. I mean, you're fake. I mean,
you thought you
it might be
could.
what you want to do, but you ain't doing this yet.
Right.
And that's what goes to what the lingo, the slang that they use today about putting work in. They didn't put enough work in, like you have.
Okay.
So they have to put the work in so they can know what you're talking about.
Right.
They just wanted that get quick.
Yeah.
Right.
They want that quick money. So I always tell kids, when they say, when parents are trying to get them to go to college or do a trade or do whatever, the main thing they talk about is money. But I tell my students, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? And then we'll decide what your plan is after high school. Like, if what you do requires college, go to college. If what you want to do requires a trade, do a trade. I ran into one of my students the other day, and two of them, one didn't finish. And I was like, it's okay, I'm gonna get you together. And then I went to the other one, and I was like, so what you doing? She's like, I just work at a factory, and then I stopped her. I said, do you like working at a factory? She's like, yes. I said, does it pay your bills? She was like, yeah. I said, don't let anybody make you feel bad for you choosing to go to work after high school and not do a trade or college. The factory's built Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, exactly.
So while you playing, so if that's what you choose to do, it's a job for everybody. Don't let nobody make you feel bad. You got a daughter, you could take care of her. I'm looking at the way you dress, you look pretty nice to me. Like some of the stuff you got on costs more than what.
Right.
So I mean, I just think that we got to start veering our youth toward the things that they're passionate about and tell them that money is okay, but you know how you see a lot of people who are 30s, 40s changing their job and going back to school, it's because they were chasing money sometimes, or they're doing what they thought people would want to see them doing. And you got to do what's best for you, and you got to do what you're passionate about. Otherwise, you're gonna be miserable.
Right.
And life is too short for that.
And taking account of how we're being raised, like I'm a product of my parents being divorced, and I had to figure out, like, what did I do? And I thought it was me, and it wasn't. But then I had to go beyond that. So even the kids that are in broken homes or may just have that mother or that father there, letting them know too, you still can make it. I am also a Central State graduate as well, and I waited and I made sure, because I wanted to make sure I had a legacy to leave. I wanted education to be important, but I didn't let that stop me. So that was one of the other barriers I see. So I'm glad you're doing the mental health piece, because so many kids can't get past them. They blame themselves. Why can't I do this? Or I didn't have this growing up. I didn't either. I went and found mentors. I didn't have them. I had to go find them. I was like, oh, would you be my mentor? Yes. And I probably got on their nerves till they agreed to it. But I didn't stop. And then I went and searched in books. I'm like, well, this is what a family is supposed to be like. Oh, okay. And then how do I change it? So I pride myself in being in that, changing that generation and breaking that generational curse. They say, yes, we're going to be educated. My grandmother told me they would kill you if you knew how to read. If they found out you knew how to read. And I was like, I didn't understand that. But our kids don't hear that. So now I tell my kids, my grandmother told me it was so important that I learn because education wasn't always given to us. And now because we've sheltered them, I've done the same. And we want to call them because we don't want them to see how hard it is. But then now they see it and see the adversity. I still got to be that parent. Well, Mom, you didn't tell me that. Yes, you're right. Because I was trying to hide it from you, but I shouldn't have. You need to see. It was hard growing up, trying to still make it. And I didn't realize, like growing up in the farm, I didn't know we was considered with the class level of poor. We had all the fresh fruit, vegetables. We ate every day. We had chickens. You could have told me we was lacking.
Right.
And then to be able to go to school, we walked.
Yeah.
You can't get a kid to walk out to the post if the mailbox is outside. So it's how do we change that now and let them know, because they see what's happening on TV. They don't understand why is our people, what is going on? Why are we being treated like this? But we have to educate them and say that and say this is what happened. I met someone recently and he was working on my car. I said, young man, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm from down south. I said, a lot of our people have come up here. He goes, I ain't never seen that. We was never saved. I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, oh, my Lord, they don't even know the Freedom Center is right here across the river in Cincinnati, where our people are. If you go down 75 south, going down to Alabama, and 65, you will see the barns that still have the quilts that our ancestors made to give us the direction of how to get up north. They still there, and some of them are tearing them down now. But one of my other mothers, Mama Nozipo, she will make you slow down so she can take a picture of it because they're tearing all that down. But we need to share that.
Right.
Why are you so bent on this education? Why do you want me to be an entrepreneur instead of going to work at like a GM? Because then I become a factory worker. I use my brain somewhat, but I can be using it so much more and I have more potential, but I don't do it because I stagnate. I won't go learn how to be creative and make a hat because I've been told this is what I need to do. Go ahead.
Because they would say at the time, and I think you would know too, if you want to keep something from us, put it in a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. We don't read.
Right.
There's a lot of our history is hidden in these books.
Yeah.
And it tells the truth.
Right.
But if we don't read the book, we
You
won't
wouldn't
know.
know it.
No.
And
A
we
lot
didn't
of
talk
things that
about
we're
that.
getting a lot later on in our lives, we're seeing things that we should have known in school. We didn't get it. We got it now.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about mental health.
Not at all.
That was a no-no. Only time I heard about mental health is when they talked about PTSD, and I always thought it was someone in the military.
Right.
They never talked about the trauma.
Yes.
You're talking about trauma
We're
that
talking about
kids.
trauma. We're talking about our ancestry.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
For over 400 years of trauma. That's never
Still
been,
ingrained in us.
never been
And
dealt.
don't even realize
never
it's
been
there.
dealt with,
Yeah.
and we ignore it.
Because that's a stigma attached to it. But now it seems like now the stars are coming out, the actors are saying,
Yes.
I
I'm
have
getting
this,
help.
I'm getting help
I'm
now.
getting help.
And then it's like, is it another fad? Is it the vibe you said?
It's a vibe.
Hey, I might need it. But they do, because we're having these school shootings, we're having so much going on, and I just don't understand.
Therapy is needed for these kids that are in school. Frightened to go to school, scared, a loud sound goes off. That's trauma.
And I don't believe they think that they're going to live to 30.
YOLO. That's what we hear our kids saying.
Right. We were like, oh, I'm going to marry Johnny and we're going to have a house with a white picket fence. They don't believe they're going to live to get to that.
Some of them don't, and some of them just think they're invincible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Being invincible is to help, create
The mental state.
this picture.
That's right.
That's not
It's a coping mechanism.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I see a lot of kids that come out so strong and they'll be bullies, but then when you talk to them, they're hurting. They're just hurt. And I said that fear is just hiding the hurt that you have. And then I love the fact that you're able to relate to the kids. They say I can too because I'm just honest with them.
Oh, yeah.
I know, because they can tell when you're not.
Right.
And I tell them, what's going on? And half time you don't have to say that. They'll come telling you
Yeah.
what's going on. Like,
Yeah, parents need to know.
That's something.
Kids tell.
Oh, yeah.
Teachers and educators all their business.
Yes.
So y'all need to act a little better.
I say it all the time. We try to assess the kids and find out what's going on so we can better help them. Meanwhile, they're assessing us.
Yeah, you got that right.
What makes you so great? I've had them say that too. What have you done?
Exactly.
And you have to share. We have to tell our story. That's why I have you
Right.
here, sharing what we're
That's
doing.
when we have to get down on all those levels and work on every level with them. Roll our sleeves up, because we're going to have to get to where we're really making a change, and that goes to their thinking errors. When you are going to do something and you know it's wrong,
Right.
what are you thinking about? You know, especially if this can impact your family in a negative way, them being without you, you know, your mom or dad, sister, brother, you are gone away now because of your thinking errors.
Right.
No one's addressing them. Nobody's challenging you so you can make better decisions with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just going with the flow because everybody else is doing that. There's no other answer.
Yeah, and some of them who don't. So I had a young man in my office, and his dad was shot and killed. He came in and his mom was killed. He saw her laying there dead. He actually called the police, but he was just, acting up in school, whatever. And he was just like, really didn't care for himself. So it's not like, do you care if you live or die, or why are you asking me that? I don't care about none of this. I'm just doing what I can do to make it. And I'm like, well, do you have anybody in your life that you love? Yeah, my sister. And I was like, so maybe don't do it for you. Maybe do it for her. Because until you could get to the point where you find value in yourself, you love your sister, you don't want her to be without you. So I think sometimes we do need to meet our kids where they are, but also we need to quit taking everything so personal. I feel like adults are so sensitive, like, oh my gosh, so what they said, they ain't talking about, like, I really get upset sometimes because I feel like all of us been through our teenage years, and we know we said stuff and did things and we didn't even think about it because we were hormonal and stupid and we just was saying stuff. But now that we're dealing with kids in the adolescent age, I feel like we take everything personal. And I'm like, whatever. They'll say something to you and the next day they'll be in your face like, hey, like nothing even happened. Yeah. And I just think when it comes to dealing with people who are carrying trauma, period, we just need to not take what they're saying or their actions so personal. We got to just say this is what I say. I just told him this back there. Like, I just tell people, like, dang, it must be them. Their life must suck. Yeah. They need some help. It ain't got nothing to do with me because I wasn't rude to them or nothing. So this ain't got nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the things that they're going through. And I just, sometimes when parents come in cussing, I just listen, and then I'm like, so what you want me to do? Right. What you want me to do to help your son? Because I don't know what to do. You got the first line. Let's work together to figure this out. And by the time, sometimes they just want to be heard, and they're taking it out on you. And of course, the student that they're coming, or their child that they're coming to the school for, they seeing their parent do that. So that's the only way they know how to cope also. And they just need somebody to de-escalate, sit and listen, and then say, now how can I help you? Now, is that the way for everybody? No, but I guarantee 99% of the parents and the students, if you listen, now you might be listening and saying this is a bunch of bull crap, but the fact that you're not being combative and you're just trying to slow down and give them
empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good. It's like you said, going to where they're at. Sometimes you can't do this in the school. We make home visits.
You do? You come out to the house?
Yes, we'll go to the home.
That's wonderful. Okay.
Meeting them where they're at, and to go to the home it works out better for the parent because they're in their comfort.
That's right.
And also the child, and they can see how this works out when we're sharing and trying to help each other get through things and having conversation and being able to keep it real. Because a lot of things when you say in assessments, when you're going through this, you keep things out. And that doesn't help you keeping it out. Right. And that's where it comes to a lot of confidentiality when you're sitting down with an adult, a parent, and a child, they're the guardian, and you share these things. And it's right where it is. It happens there. And that's where the healing starts. Okay. And even going into the substance abuse, recovery is healing. And we have to buy into that. And a lot of people, they hold on to the word relapse all the time.
Right. We don't see the goodness.
It's not about relapse. It's about recovery. So that's something we want to embark on, because a lot of times when you go into these homes, parents are having substance abuse issues. And, you know, we have to keep this in confidentiality, but we want to give the parent treatment. Because, you know, you want to help your child out and get through this, because they're getting on what you're on. By watching watching your behavior.
Learning and watching.
When you're under the influence, you're teaching them how to treat you. So this is where we have to start doing some work at, and the parents got to buy into it if we want to help our kids.
I think probably they don't understand it, because you say treatment. They're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they don't understand that you're helping. So I'm going to say we're going to be supportive in your mental wellness, because just like Miss Linda said, she had her struggles, but look at this beautiful lady now.
Yes.
Look at her. And just to hear that, but would nobody know that?
No.
But they need to know that it's okay. Even though you may have your struggles, like you said, when you were younger, you did things. Okay, we did them, but now we're older. And wiser, and so now you can say, I'm still here. You can live past 25,
Right.
because that's what I hear. Oh, when you get to, they think that's old now. I don't know why.
Yes.
Oh, you made it over 20, but they
I
don't
thought it was old when I was growing up.
Oh my God, 20.
I did not want to be 30. I'm 41 now, but I did not want to be 30.
Well, 30 was my hardest birthday.
Mine too. I was like, no. I don't even know why. I feel so silly now thinking that.
I mean, I thought, okay, this is it. This is the end of my life. 30.
All the fun.
You just started.
Yeah, you got that
You're
right.
just getting started. And that's what I wanted to share, because the biggest thing is getting past that stigma of treatment. I need help today, and knowing I can find someone that looks like me can help me, and maybe can share my experiences, because that's what we see a lot of times. People say, well, they don't look like me. I can't go get help. Yes, you can. I have 5 mentors. And I did that on purpose. 1, I have a big head. 2, I have a lot going on in there. Some of my mentors want to just tell me just to sit and be quiet. I can't even say nothing. I said, do you know how hard that is for me to sit? That's probably why Bishop had me doing this. But just to sit and be quiet. But I had to learn to do that. And it was a reason. Because I was so used to, I couldn't see what she was doing right in front of me. She was showing me, like you said, that you just follow. Just follow me. And you will see it. But I had to learn that. So letting people know it's okay to have a mentor or someone to look up. Go find the person that you don't see in front of you. They're there, I promise. You might have to hunt through a couple of them. Everybody might not have their good intention, like you said. Everybody says they want to help. But you'll see by their action and their heart.
That does all the talking.
And that's what I see today around this table is your passion, your heart, what you're saying, what you've been able to do. You didn't come through this for no reason. You say, yes, I did, but what did I get myself into?
I know, right?
And look at you now. And you know, you got people working outside. I don't even think you realize how big your name and people are talking about you out here because you're doing something. Somebody said, well, what's she doing? She can't do that. Yes, you can. And guess what? You have help today. Because you got people around this table here that's going to promote you and share what you're doing, and whatever help you need. We want to make sure we wrap our arms around you because we know it's going to be tough and struggle. We want to be there so if you do need us. So that's what I want the connection to be today. You with the mental health, Miss Lady Linda coming in and sharing her talents, because that's what we need to see. We need to know about that, and you're still here and doing, and then beautiful doing it.
And sharing your story, because I think a lot of like when you said like you were doing drugs, so you got 30 and you were like, yeah, I didn't start this till I was 35. I think a lot of people give up. You know what I'm saying? Right. And some of one of my students who graduated, she went to Atlanta, college didn't work out, and she was just texting me and saying, you know, I'm just not doing nothing with my life. I'm like, girl, you 20, like you 19 years old. What you talking about? You are 19. It is okay. Your brain is not even fully developed till you're 25. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, it's okay. Like some of us don't figure out what we are going to do until we're 28, 29, 30, 35. Some people even 40 to 50. Like, you're still 20. It's okay. And I think a lot of times we're trying to push our kids to grow up so fast, and I don't know why. I'm just like, we're pushing them in adulthood so quick and they're not ready.
Hope, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Hope, but you giving us hope. You give those young
Absolutely,
kids hope.
absolutely. Just sharing your story, period. And it's like, because we can see that transparency, and we can see.
21-year-old can see.
That's right. All three of us then went through something, and we're all successful. It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have adversity.
Right now, I used to keep jobs. I was one of the first black makeup artists for Floyd Roberts.
Okay.
And then I went with Fashion Fair. So I would travel doing makeup. Okay, and I just loved makeup. That was my first business.
And you get
really.
to travel, yes.
Yeah. But you know, for my hustle on, I would go to festivals, and I might have a shoebox full of nail polishes, flash the top because I couldn't get a booth. Hey, you know,
Hey, get it how you live.
$4. I charged $4 back then for nail colors.
Like Lenny on Good Times.
She make it happen.
That's right.
Right. So I knew what I wanted to do, you know, and I never gave up. But I knew I needed a job. I didn't keep them long because the drugs be calling my name. I might not be able to make it.
Right.
Okay, but I didn't stop.
Yeah.
I kept the vision. Yeah.
And that's what counts. You guys wouldn't believe it, but we're down to our last 4 minutes. And you guys have done such an excellent job. So just to wrap things up, would you mind sharing how do we continue to share this and making and empowering our community, talking about the education, our entrepreneurs, and our mental wellness, because we need our kids healthy and for them to work out these things. How do we continue? I want to continue providing a platform where people can talk about it and share and see all the great things you've done and your accomplishments and showing people, yes, it can be done. Well, I don't know how. Well, we have the information. It's right here. So in our last couple minutes, would you mind sharing, each of you, just maybe 30 seconds or a minute, just how do we continue this processing and passing this on, empowering our next generations?
Well, I think we need to definitely keep talking about it, and you know, be pure about, you know, how did I get here? You know, what did I do to get where I don't have to hustle? I don't have to scrape and scrap to how my bills are going to be paid, but I set a pattern in a way. You know, they need to know that there is a way other than just, you know, letting things happen, but we have to plan.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. So my plan is to have people like you guys come speak to my students.
Of course.
But also, in my school, I plan to have a student government. So if they'll have mentors, first of all. When kids enter our school, I plan to match them with a mentor outside of the building. But also we'll have student government, and a real student government, so we'll be like a little city. So if a student has an issue with anything, the lunch, we don't want to wear uniforms, whatever, I'm gonna say, okay, we'll go back to if you're the student, the president of the student government, go back to your constituents, talk amongst yourselves and come up with a new plan, come to me, and we can work it out. So hopefully, in doing that, they will carry that into adulthood and hopefully change the Dayton community, because the west side of Dayton is really lacking.
Yes.
And I not only want to change education, but I want that to leak out into our community so our students can be empowered, and then they can help the community also. But the first step is to have you guys come talk to my kids, and I'm really going to do that.
I think just staying in contact and coming to this, to the podcast. It's my first time ever doing this, and meeting great people. And Dayton, the community in Dayton, it's a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And I just think coming here and talking about, you know, my testimony and what I've been through is in the mental health field and substance abuse field, but helping people and seeing the outcomes. We can measure those outcomes when it comes to mental health.
Yeah.
Quite hard to do it when it comes to mentoring. But when you're measuring mental health, you can see what you're doing with each individual, you know, the documentation and everything, and you watch them grow when you're taking those steps. And it's rewarding for you, what makes you want to go out and do more.
Yeah.
And when you see the people that you're helping, like I spoke earlier, seeing a young man 10 years later who I really thought that I gave you all that you would want to know, but then you didn't utilize it. It's about utilizing the mental health services. He picked up maybe a couple of years afterwards, and he did not forget the steps.
His brain wasn't fully developed.
Wasn't But he remembered. He
That's
also
right.
remembered, and he was able to take that. And this is just maybe 2-3 months ago that I got back in contact with him, seeing him, and he has 2 businesses.
That's what's up.
You know, and he's doing his thing. Has another child, but he is working.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's working, and he's helping his community.
Yeah.
And that's something that for him to tell me, thanks for thinking about me, because nobody wanted to help me. And that right there did enough for me to charge me for another 10 years.
Right.
I heard that. You got that right, though. Really.
That's what I get out of this. And coming to Dayton and being able to help people. You said West Dayton. I guess I'll see what West Dayton is all about.
You will.
Okay, I hear a part 2 coming. With education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. I think it's going great. Thank you guys so much for coming and
Thanks for having us.
and sharing. I'm so blessed and grateful that you took your time, because you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here, and this is the right place to be, because everyone needs to hear your voice. I'll end with our scripture that we started with, which is Proverbs 3:13. It says, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yield better returns than gold." Thank you, everyone.
She.
Thank you. She, look.
She.